Welcome back to the program. Let's start with Kenya's biggest telco operator, Safaricom. It has posted a 16% rise in pre-tax earnings of $380 or so million in the first half of the year. That was boosted in part by a rise in its customer base. Now, by the end of the first half, subscriber numbers are up 14% to 25.1 million. The churn rate was also a lot lower at about 14%. Non-voice revenue from mobile data, M-Pesa and messaging services contributed a bigger portion of total service revenues as well. Those are up by about 24% to $393 million, and they accounted for about 47% of service revenue. Direct costs were up 3.8% in the first half. Operational costs were also up by 14%. The firm had a net foreign currency loss of just under $1 million, given the weakness of the Kenyan shilling. Now, the local unit is down about 15% so far this year against the American dollar.
We've seen a 15% growth in our total customer base, which has indeed led to a continued growth in our non-voice revenues. And what this 15.5% means, this 15% means, is that we have actually added 3.25 million new customers in that period. We have regionalized the sales operations of the business in order to get us closer to our customers and to pursue our strategy of customer first. We have continued to invest in the network and in innovation, and we've seen significant improvement in voice and data quality.
And Bob Collymore, CEO of Safaricom, is live with me in studio right now. Thank you for your time. You've raised your full-year guidance off the back of the first half results by quite a bit. I wonder, though, how do you assess the risk that a rise in inflation, especially imported inflation, will affect consumers' spending over the next half of your fiscal year?
Look, I think inevitably a rise in inflation is going to affect consumer spending. But, you have to look at our change in guidance as a measure of the confidence that we have, that we've increased our guidance on both net income and free cash by 10%. Relative to what we had guided back in May. So we're actually pretty confident that the economy is pretty robust. And yes, inflation rates are running up a little high at 7%. And yes, we have the issues around interest rates. But our confidence is certainly higher than it was back in May.
Indeed. Or we could also argue that Safaricom products are essentially price inelastic from a consumer perspective, can't we?
It is largely so. I think particularly low-income people use the mobile phone more as a productive tool than as an item of luxury, and therefore it's something that you can't really do without, and you'd rather compromise other things. You'd rather walk to work than sacrifice the airtime.
Indeed. Speaking of interest rates, you had about $35 million or so of debt linked to T-bill rates. Was there a cap on the rate that the company would be paying on that?
No, there isn't a cap, but actually we benefit both ways, because we do borrow, but we also have money on deposit, and so actually we came out net positive out of the interest rates.
Indeed. Pretty interesting situation there. When we last spoke, we spoke quite a bit about Amakiba, and we're working with a tentative launch date of around October 21st. That didn't happen then. When is the product likely to come to market?
I think that's the call of the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury. It's his decision when we do it. We had a few technical hitches which we needed to sort out. So the linkage between CDSC and the NSE. Also, we had to get a call center set up and trained. That's all pretty much ready now, and I think we're just waiting for Cabinet Secretary Rotich to decide when he wants to launch it. It's likely to be in the next few weeks, I guess.
All right. So from a technical perspective, everything is good to go. We're just waiting for the Treasury to say, okay, fine, we'll come to the market and borrow X amount of money from the Kenyan public.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Now, given the fact that you're making a very strong push into expanding data access, you've laid 2,000 plus kilometers of fiber optic cables, you're targeting a couple of thousand homes, a couple of thousand businesses as well. I mean, with all this data access that you have, are you in talks with any content providers, Netflix, Hulu, Iroko, to bring their content to the Kenyan market?
Yeah, the box is really designed to be internet in the home. But you have to make it more attractive than that, and therefore you have to get attractive content. And we've spent this quiet period when we've taken the box off the market to really research and get deeper consumer insight into what it is they want. And it's very clear that we need to deliver a wider range of content if it's coming from Safaricom. So yes, we're talking to a number of international content providers as well as local content providers.
Any timelines on when those talks might be concluded, be it with Netflix or Hulu, for example?
Well, we expect to bring the box to market hopefully before Christmas. It's now beginning of November. And the content piece will come into play soon after that. We're not bringing the box back to market with a new set of content, but we will introduce a content bouquet at a later stage.
All right, so just for the sake of clarity, who exactly are you talking to on the content side?
I think that's a little bit commercially sensitive, so we'd rather not talk about that right now.
All right, one final question for you. Banks, of course, your frenemies, for lack of a better word. They're planning to launch their own service to handle mobile to bank, mobile to mobile, bank to bank transactions sometime for the end of the year. Assuming the product does come to market as planned, what will you do in order to maintain the competitive edge that M-Pesa has?
Well, we are assuming. We have no reason to believe that it's not going to come to market. But the competitive landscape is continually changing, as is the product. If you look at M-Pesa when we launched it a few years back and the product that we have now, it's vastly different. So the product continues to evolve to meet customer demand. And of course, as I've always said, I think this market is big enough for a lot more players than they currently are. So, if the tide rises, I think all the boats will rise with it.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you for your time, Bob. As always, thank you very much for your time.